morning, everyone. Welcome to this live webcast. I'm your host, Jennifer Wicks, joining you, hosting from System-Wide Learning and Development this morning. Welcome to NIH, National Institute of Health, and NSF, National Science Foundation updates, including existing and new funding opportunities. So this is presented by the Department of Research and STEMnet, and we're really happy you're joining us this morning. Please do fill out the polls on the screen if you haven't had a chance to already. We look forward to your participation through this pod over here to the left of my camera in the chat with all of participants, and we'll be looking for your questions and comments throughout this webcast. We'll have the Q&A section at the end, so please do stand by for that as we capture all of your questions and comments to have that discussion after the two presentations, or the three presentations that we have for you today. Well, with that, we're going to go ahead and dive right in. I'm going to head over to switch our screen now and move over to our presentation layout. I'd like to introduce Dr. Ganesh Raman. He is the Assistant Vice Chancellor of Research. And with that, Dr. Raman, I will go ahead and hand it over to you to get started. Thank you.
Good morning, friends. Thank you, Jennifer. It's a great pleasure for me to welcome you to this webcast that focuses on new NSF and NIH funding opportunities. As you know, we do a lot of webcasts, but this webcast comes at a time when our campuses are strangely empty, except for those essential employees who are making a significant sacrifice. Over the past few weeks, I've had a chance to watch the collaborative and creative spirit of our faculty, staff, and students as we focus on a new and unprecedented problem at hand. I thank you all for being relentless about how we make a difference together while we're apart. Today we have three distinguished speakers: Dr. Irene Avila from the National Institutes of Health, Dr. Michelle Camacho, and Dr. Talitha Washington from the National Science Foundation. Thank you so much, Irene, Michelle, and Talitha, for being available at such short notice. Before we begin the webcast, I'd like to thank Jennifer Wicks in the CSU studio for agreeing to take this on at very short notice. I also thank Dr. Frank Gomez, Executive Director of STEMnet, who stepped up to the challenge of organizing this event. STEMnet is a multi-campus consortium of the CSU that connects all 23 campuses in STEM education and research activities and focuses on a number of campus synergies. We're now ready to begin our program, and our first speaker today is Dr. Irene Avila, Assistant Director, Sexual and Gender Minority Research Office of the National Institutes of Health. Dr. Avila, please proceed.
Thank you, Ganesh and Frank, for the invitation to speak with everyone. And as a native Californian, born and raised in San Jose, I'm very honored and excited to do this presentation with all of you today. My pronouns are she, her, ella, and ellas, and I would like to thank the Sexual and Gender Minority Research Office, which is also known as SGMRO. As you know, federal agencies love their acronyms. The SGMRO team, especially Sean Patel, and the NIH leadership that has allowed this office to progress and grow. So this presentation, I'm going to provide you with some background about NIH, the SGMRO, and an overview of NIH's response to the COVID-19. Before I start, I would like to make a disclosure that in my position, I am not a program officer, and our office doesn't have a grant authority. But if there are questions that I'm unable to answer after this meeting, I will follow up with our colleagues who are program officers and in the Office of Extramural Research to get those answers back to you. So as many of you know, NIH is comprised of 27 institutes and centers and offices. NIH's mission is to seek fundamental knowledge about the nature and behavior of living systems and to apply the knowledge to enhance health, lengthen life, and reduce. To carry out this mission, NIH supports research, as we all know, through the Extramural Research Program, where we provide grant funding to research investigators at universities, hospitals, medical schools, and research institutions. But we also have an intramural research program on our campuses where we conduct our own research. We also provide support training the future generations of research investigators, and we foster the communication of medical information and research results. Of the 27 institutes and centers at NIH, 22 have grant-making authority, and they are highlighted here in the red circles. And of the 27 institutes and centers, 22 have intramural research programs. Every institute and center has their own mission, scientific priorities, their own budgets. A good analogy of the NIH would be a comparison to the CSU. There are different campuses across the state of California, just like at NIH we have different institutes and centers where they're their own entity. They have their own research focus. So you can kind of think of us as kind of a big institution like the CSU and the UC system. The Office of the Director is the NIH Director's Office, and it is the central office at NIH. It's responsible for setting the policy, for planning, managing, and coordinating programs and activities throughout NIH. NIH receives over $39 billion annually to invest in biomedical research, and more than 80% of our budget goes to funding extramural researchers. And about 10% of our budget goes to the intramural research program, which has about 6,000 researchers. And we also have postdocs, graduate students, postbacks, and summer interns every year come to NIH to do research. So that was my quick overview of NIH. I will now move on to giving you an overview of the Sexual and Gender Minority Research Office, SGMRO. Our office is fairly new. It was created in 2015. It sits within the Division of Program Coordination, Planning, and Strategic Initiatives, also known as DPCIPSI. And we also sit within the Office of the Director. This office was in part of response to 2011 Institute of Medicine report that NIH established. And the Institute of Medicine is now also known as the National Academies of Science, Engineering, and Medicine. And so this report was the first ever comprehensive report on LGBT health. So besides creation of this office, a strategic plan was developed. And so let me first talk about what our office does. The biggest thing that we do is we coordinate sexual and gender minority, also known as SGM, health research activities across the NIH. We represent NIH at conferences, meetings. This includes departmental conferences and meetings at the Health and Human Services level, as well as other federal agencies and with the extramural research community and advocacy groups. We also serve as a resource for the extramural researchers as well as internally for the NIH staff and community. We connect extramural researchers with key NIH contacts, so we hope that we are the first office that researchers come to when they're thinking about applying for an application, a grant application related to sexual and gender minority health. But we hope that we are not the last phone call that you make. We collaborate with the institutes and centers on the development of SGM health research reports. We manage information dissemination across the agency as well as with the extramural community. So transparency is very important to our work, so we always record all of our meetings. We create reports and summaries, and we post them all on our website. And we also try to leverage our resources to develop initiatives so that we're not working in a silo at NIH. We accomplish these goals working with two sets of committees. One's an internal committee, which is the SGM Research Coordinating Committee. It has representation across the institutes and centers, and they provide us with guidance, feedback, as well as working with us on creating new initiatives and programs. Our external committee is the SGM Research Working Group, which reports to DBKIPS's Council of Councils. This has representation from extramural researchers across the country, and we currently have 9 members. And these 2 groups help us accomplish goals that were outlined in the NIH Sexual and Gender Minority Health Research Strategic Plan. Our current strategic plan ends this year, and we are working hard to finalize our next strategic plan, which is for fiscal year 2021 and 2025, which will be launched on September 17th of this year. These strategic plans include activities for all of the agency NIH, and it's not just an SGMRO strategic plan. SGMRO leads the implementation of achieving the goals of the plan, but we don't have the sole responsibility of achieving them all. It does serve as a blueprint for SGMRO when it comes to thinking about initiatives and programs and activities. I have here highlighted 4 key goal areas, and just wanted to highlight some of the accomplishments that we've achieved in the past 5 years. So when this office was first established, it was a team of 2, and this past year we've expanded to a team of 5. We have increased the number of SGM-related projects funded by NIH. NIMHD, which is the Minority Health and Health Disparities Institute, has designated SGM as a health disparity population for NIH research. We conduct SGM Health Research Regional Workshops, and in the past they've taken place in Boston, Los Angeles, Atlanta, Philadelphia, and our next one is scheduled for September 3rd in Columbus, Ohio, if we're allowed to still meet in person. We conduct scientific workshops to help identify research gap areas and to help with research priority setting at each of the institutes and centers. We launched an annual SGM Investigator Award Program. It's not a monetary award, but we bring the awardees to NIH and we create meetings with program officers as well as researchers at NIH. We fund SGM administrative supplements. We help with the expansion of SGM data collection efforts at the NIH. And we work with the institutes and centers to publish SGM-specific notices of special interest and funding opportunity announcements. So that's SGMRO in a nutshell. And if you want to learn more, please go to our website. I'm also available. You can reach out to me if you'd like to learn more about sexual gender minority research out at NIH. And I will now move on to the last component of my presentation, which highlights the NIH's response to the COVID-19 pandemic. So just a reminder that I'm not a program officer, but all this information I'm sharing has come from the Office of Extramural Research's website, and it's all publicly available, and it's always being updated. So I do encourage everyone to keep returning to their website to stay abreast of all the latest changes. One key message we want to be sure everybody knows is that we are open for business. We are all still working pretty hard, probably more so now than we have been, just because of all the new initiatives that need to be moving forward. All staff are working remotely, so we're all available via email, through meetings like this, as well as through Skype, Business, WebEx, Zoom meetings. All applications are still being processed, and peer review is still meeting, and they're having virtual meetings. Awards are still going to be made. We're working digitally to provide funding opportunities to support COVID-19 research. And we also want the community to know that patient care and researcher safety is our first priority. The NIH is deeply concerned for the health and safety of people involved in NIH research and about the effects of the biomedical enterprise in the areas affected by COVID-19. Due to the potential exceptional impact, we want to assure our recipient community that NIH will be doing our part to help continue your research. So the next few slides are just going to highlight some of the policy changes that have become effective due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The first is salaries and stipends. So if you are an NIH-funded researcher and you're unable to work on grant or training activities, salaries and stipends may be charged to your NIH grant. But please be sure that your organization's policies allow such changes from federal and non-federal funds. And prior approval is not required to divert faculty from research to clinical work related to COVID-19 until the end of the health emergency period. For administrative flexibilities, the Office of Management and Budget has authorized agencies to utilize administrative flexibilities to recipients conducting COVID-19 research and recipients affected by COVID-19. So NIH is allowing pre-award costs to be incurred, extensions of post-award reporting, higher approval requirement waivers, numerous flexibilities regarding expenditures of funds. So if you go to this not OD 20086, the notice that just kind of outlines these flexibilities. So we know there's always a clock set going when you receive your PhD and what period is considered for early career investigators. So to accommodate for this loss of time, of research time, there will be extensions for early stage investigators' eligibility due to this disruption. So please keep that in mind and be sure to fill out the appropriate paperwork for those considerations. NIH will also be flexible with extending time constraints for fellowships, career development, and training awards, including phased awards. And then for the guidance of human research affected by COVID-19, NIH wants to ensure the safety of all human participants and research staff involved in clinical trials and human subjects studies. So please consult the IRB at your institution about protective measures such as limiting study visits to those needed for participant safety or coincident with clinical care, conducting virtual study visits, implementing flexibilities for required laboratory tests or imaging needed for safety monitoring. NIH will be flexible regarding project extensions and accommodating unanticipated costs. So for some final advice, if you have some general questions related to COVID-19 flexibilities, we encourage you to please contact the NIH's Office of Extramural Research at grants policy, one word, at nih.gov. But if you have more specific questions to your NIH award, we encourage you to contact the grants management or your program staff at the funding institute or center. And I would like to encourage all to bookmark this website because this is where all the updates are being posted, as well as all the funding opportunity announcements related to COVID-19. So I'm sure most are all aware of the CARES Act that was implemented in March, and NIH received some additional supplementary funding to help fund new research related to COVID-19 related activities. And so the two mechanisms that NIH is using to get these announcements out quickly is the competitive revision FOA, or funding opportunity announcement, and the urgent competitive revisions FOA. This is just a sample of a few announcements that have come out. When you go to the National Disasters Coronavirus website for OER, you will see that there's a long list of funding opportunities. But here we're just highlighting some things that are maybe of interest to those who are doing sexual and gender minority research, as well as those who are doing behavioral and social science types of research. So the first one here is just talking about administrative supplement and urgent competitive revision for research. related to the novel coronavirus and behavioral and social sciences. The second one here is development of biomedical technologies for COVID-19. And the last one is looking at the impact of the COVID-19 outbreak on minority health and health disparities populations. And here I'm just highlighting two updated tools NIH provides to the public. And it's the NIH Public Health Emergency and Disaster Research Response, DR2, and the Phoenix Toolkit. And these are largely related to helping provide some survey items to some research questions. We've also just launched a COVID-19 portfolio analysis tool, and this allows you to analyze the COVID-19 literature. And so on the PDF file that is being shared with you has a link to that tool. So as this situation continues to unfold and new things keep popping up and changes, we keep working on making some changes to ensure that research can continue. NIH is going to work to ensure that research community continues to feel supported in their work while also allocating resources to combat this pandemic. So again, just please go to the OER website that's dedicated to COVID-19 for updates and funding opportunity announcements. If you'd like to receive a summary email of all those newly published notices, please sign up to this listserv and the link here in the middle. And every week on Fridays, usually in the afternoon, Eastern time, you will get an email listing all the new announcements, funding opportunity announcements. And then lastly, if you're interested in sexual and gender minority research, health research, our office also has a listserv where we disseminate information and updates on research activities related to SGM populations. And so this last link is here to connect to the listserv, or you can email me directly and I'll be sure you get added to the list. So that is my quick highlight for you, and I'll now turn it over to Ganesh. Oh, sorry, Frank.
Thank you, Irene, for your great presentation. I'm confident a lot of our registrants will reach out to you if they have questions with respect to NIH as well as funding opportunities going forward. As Ganesh mentioned, I'm Executive Director of STEMnet, and we're always looking for partners going forward in opportunities with respect to grants, as well as multi-campus, multi-consortia opportunities. So do not hesitate to reach out to me. Our next speakers, I'm really thrilled they were able to step up at a short notice and work with us to present today. I'd like to introduce Drs. Michelle Camacho and Talitha Washington from the National Science Foundation. Dr. Camacho is Program Director in the Division of Undergraduate Education, and Dr. Washington is Program Director of the Convergence Accelerator. This will be in two parts. We have Michelle going first. So Michelle, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Frank. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon to those of you, if anyone is on the East Coast. This is an unprecedented time. I hope that all of you who are here with us today are safe and healthy and practicing self-compassion during what is a very difficult time. As Frank mentioned, I am currently a program officer in the Directorate of Education and Human Resources. I'm going to be starting a new detail in the Human Resources and Development Division, but my start date has been pushed out a couple of weeks. I collaborate with Erica Camacho. She's my counterpart as the HSI program co-lead, and I'll share her email at the end of this presentation in case you need to get in touch with us. So first, a quick overview of the structure at the National Science Foundation. You can see that we have these 7 pillars: biology, gosh, I can't see them from here. Biology, computer science, education, human resources, engineering, geosciences, where chemistry is located, mathematical, physical sciences, and social, behavioral, and economic sciences. Today I'm only going to be referring to the programs inside of the Education and Human Resources Directorate. And specifically, within EHR, we have 4 divisions. Each of these divisions hosts its own set of programs. I am currently in the Division of Undergraduate Education, so I'll be talking about those. But there are also programs, if you're interested in doing K-12, K through 16 research, that would be through the DRL division, Division of Graduate Education, speaks for itself, and the Division of Human Resource Development. I'll speak a little bit about that as well. So in DUE, we have 5 main programs. I'll speak about the Hispanic Serving Institutions program momentarily. The largest program in our division is IUSE, Improving Undergraduate STEM Education. We just had our program deadline pass, and we will have another deadline coming up August the 4th. All of these programs, by the way, you can look up online by doing a simple NSF IUSE search. And IUSE is an agency-wide program, but this one is hosted, the largest one is here hosted in EHR. We also have this STEM program available for applying for scholarships for your students. The Robert Noyce Teacher Scholarships is another program specifically designed to fund students in STEM majors who want to go on to become teachers. And then finally, ATE, Technical Education, is for community colleges. So if there are any researchers out there who want to establish partnerships with community colleges, it would be great if you listed them as the lead PI, and then you could co-lead and collaborate. Now, I mentioned the Hispanic Serving Institutions program is jointly managed. It's one of the few programs that is cross-divisional in nature, which is wonderful because it brings a great interdisciplinary focus to the program. Our mission in DUE is to strengthen STEM education through research and evaluation at a variety of institution types. And in the Division of Human Resource Development, there is a greater emphasis on building capacity and on broadening participation for the workforce. So you may have heard of the NSF Advanced program. That one is housed in HRD, as is AGEP for graduate education professional communities, TCUP for tribal colleges, HBCU, and a number of other programs. So I just want to bring your attention to the deadline. This is the deadline that was published last year. The name of the solicitation, you'll see here, it says Program Solicitation 19-540. The first 2 numbers of every solicitation indicate the year in which the program solicitation was last revised. So here you'll see that it says the deadline was March the 6th for 2019, but then right underneath you'll see that it says that every year thereafter the deadline is the 3rd Wednesday in September. I believe it is September 16th this year, 2020. Frank asked us to talk a little bit about the COVID response at the National Science Foundation. And with funding from the CARE Act, we have funds for what are called rapid response grants. Rapid response grants are, I'm going to talk about the details in a minute, but if you want to see the program call, search in your web browser NSF 20052. 20 refers, as I just mentioned, to the year of the program solicitation, so 2020. And these funds are available in all of those directorates that I pointed out on the earlier slide. And so the way to find out more about these is to go to the NSF Rapid Response Grant webpage. And when you go there, you'll find that you could also do a web search for this. You can see that there are already some projects that have been funded with the CARE Act's funds. And so a list of all of the abstracts are publicly available, and you can just do a search for COVID and RAPID, and those will come up. The way to go about, if you're interested in learning more about RAPID funding, I would first direct you to what we call the PAPG, the Proposal and Award Policies and Procedure Guides. This is a very lengthy guide, but almost every question that a PI has can be an answer can be found in the PAPG. And so if you go into the PAPG and you search RAPID, you'll find out a little bit more about the RAPID program. Once you've read about that, the next step would be to contact the program officer in the program that you're interested in applying to and send them a couple of paragraphs about what your idea is. So the program officers, they do some vetting, and they will invite you, if your project seems competitive, they will invite you to submit a longer application for review. What are we looking for in RAPID proposal ideas? Well, with all NSF funds, we look at two primary criteria: intellectual merit, what is the research idea, is it innovative, and the broader impact. How will this project affect society at large? How will it be disseminated? So in thinking about this, consider what you're trying to accomplish, what the outcomes will be. With regard to RAPID in particular, this theme about urgency is especially important to consider. So if you're proposing a project for which the data will not be gathered until fall, that's not urgent. The language in the PAPG indicates that RAPID proposals should capture ephemeral data. That is, data that is at risk of being lost if it's not collected immediately. So in addition to those two primary criteria, program officers are also looking to see whether the methodology is well matched to the research question, whether the research team has the capability and experiences and history to collect data on this topic. We want to know why this problem is important. And this is where the guidance from your program officer is especially useful, because as you can imagine, since we've been receiving a large number of RAPID proposals, there is some saturation of topics. And so thinking about, what would be novel in this case can really help you, and you can receive guidance from your program officer. Of course, tying it to the previous literature, to previous studies, how will it build upon, what will it contribute that we don't already know. And then all projects at NSF require an evaluative component. So how will you know that your project is on track to be successful? Will you have an external evaluator, for example? And then in terms of dissemination, what are the deliverables? And the budget for a rapid response grant is up to $200,000. I wanted to mention conference proposals quickly, because conference proposals are available in every NSF program. If the budget is less than $50,000, it doesn't not go out for external review. All conference proposals are with the consultation of a program officer, and this is a really wonderful way of initiating some conversations. You must also always be thinking about the output. So what will the proposal produce, the conference produce? And again, this is something that you can talk to your program officer about. I'm almost done. I just want to mention one program that we funded, which is called the HSI STEM Hub. HSI STEM Hub is an award that was made to New Mexico State University and Cal State Northridge in partnership with one other university, I can't remember, and they host workshops now virtually to which you can apply. This is a schedule of the virtual workshops, but if you want to see this firsthand, just to type in HSI STEM Hub, and this list is available. They're also offering these small mini grants called Ganas. They're up to $12,500, and you can connect with them and become part of their network. Finally, I'd just like to invite you. One of the things that I think is really important in our role as program officers is to demystify the National Science Foundation. I was a PI for 15 years and learned so much once I got here. And what I can really suggest and invite is for you to consider coming. Right now, we are all teleworking. All of our panels are virtual. There's also opportunities to serve in an ad hoc format if you cannot devote 2 full days or a day and a half to panel review. But please, if you're interested, you can contact me or the program that you're interested in serving on. It's a great way to get some experience and learn a little bit more about what the review process is like. And then finally, the National Science Foundation hires rotators. A rotator can come in through the Interpersonnel Act as an IPA, in which you stay as a faculty member at your home campus, and NSF pays your campus your salary, or you can come in as a federal employee, as a visiting scientist, engineering educator. Small differences, same work. If you go to usajobs.gov and look up the National Science Foundation, I pasted a couple of the opportunities here to serve as program director or as evaluator. We're currently hiring. Thank you very much. There's my email if you'd like to get in touch with me. I also put the email of my counterpart who couldn't be here today, regrettably, Erika Camacho, and look forward to seeing some of your proposals in the future. Thank you. Talitha, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Hello, my name is Talitha Washington, and I'm a program director in the NSF Convergence Accelerator. So the NSF Convergence Accelerator seeks to leverage the science across all fields of NSF research to produce outcomes in an accelerated time frame with streamlined operations allowing for nimbleness to support the most innovative results. So the Convergence Accelerator is a new organizational structure in the foundation, and we seek to accelerate the transition of convergence research into practice in areas of national importance. Some of our characteristics include use-inspired research, test beds, tools, living labs, and we require partnerships with industry. So it's not enough just to have a team of academicians. We really want the team to be composed of people from different sectors, whether it be academia, industry, nonprofit, government, startups, and so on. And projects should have clear goals, milestones, and directed deliverables that will impact at a national scale. So for the management, we have time-limited tracks, and we have our funded PIs. We lump them into cohorts, and so we're mission-driven. We really want to accelerate the translation of research into practice. So last year was our first pilot. This is our 2019 pilot cohort. This is the first time we started the program. The way that we start the program, going from left to right, is we had people submit research concept outlines. It's a 2-pager indicating, it's almost like a white paper, it's 2 pages, indicating what they would like to do. After we assessed the RCOs, the research concept outlines, we invited the teams to submit a phase 1 proposal. So the teams are invited to submit these proposals. Then right away, September, the project started. Over the year, we had an innovation curriculum where we met with the PIs about 3 times a year for about a week, 3 or 4 times a year for about a week, where we really are hands-on with the team, and each of the team gets a coach. So we want to accelerate the research with high support. Then, upcoming pretty soon, we're going to have a pitch competition, and each team will make a pitch. They have 2 pitches. One pitch will actually be a part of the review process for going into phase 2, and so that would be closed. And then the second pitch will be an open public pitch where other entities, nonprofits, or foundations could give expressions of interest in the project. And if they're selected to move on to phase 2, then they would go into the green bar, and then their projects would start. And then in 2 years, they'll have some nice deliverables. Right now, we're looking to start a 2020 cohort. So we kind of have year-long cohorts. The way that 2020 cohort started is we released a Dear Colleague letter last year where we asked the community what they thought was important for our topics in this second round for the 2020 cohort. So we funded a series of workshops, and from those workshops we were able to determine topic areas. So our solicitation deadline for pre-proposals, preliminary proposals, is May 11th, which is right around the corner. So these preliminary proposals, they're 2 pages, and they're due May 11th. And then this new cohort will then go through the same format. So our solicitation, NSF 20-565 is out. And again, we're looking to receive preliminary proposals on May 11th. It's 2 pages, no budget. Tell us what you want to do, and obviously responsive to the solicitation. The way the money works, we expect to fund up to 30 awards for phase 1 after people submit the preliminary proposals. The phase 1, so a team will submit a preliminary proposal, then they will be invited to submit for phase 1. Phase 1 proposals are for 9 months, up to $1 million. And then at the end of phase 1, after the pitches, they will be invited to submit for a phase 2, which is time span of 24 months, up to $5 million. So some of the evaluation criteria include the following. Well, it has to be relevant to the track. We're really looking for this idea of convergence, multiple disciplines coming to solve problems of societal interest. And we're looking for project leadership teams that are made up of people from different sectors. So not just the academy, but the academy, maybe people from government, industry, arenas that make sense. So we must have multiple types of institutions on the project teams and clearly define deliverables. What will the deliverables be at the end, all the way at the end of phase 2? And how will it affect the American people? So our 2020 solicitation topics include the following. They include quantum technology. So this could include quantum sensing, quantum simulators, quantum interconnects in the quantum workforce. Track D topic area is AI-driven, that's artificial intelligence-driven innovation via data and model sharing. So this could include tools, platforms, protocols for the curation and sharing of open as well as sensitive protected data. Also techniques and services for dealing with issues related to sensitive data, privacy, and data sanitation. These could also address ethics, fairness, and bias issues associated with research data. So I mentioned before that our project teams have a curriculum that we guide them through. So we have these in-person meetings that happen 3 times a year. They happen in October, December, and February, where we guide them and give them practice on how do you make a pitch, how do you manage differences in the team, how do you employ team science to support and enable good research. So we really are hands-on with our teams, and we really want them to be successful. Also, in between, we have webinars on design thinking, synthesis, how do I tell the story of my research, and then again with the pitch practicing. So we like to think of our curriculum as a cake. So at the bottom, we have specific domain topics. Right? So each of our project teams that we funded are one of the topic domains, and then they have a specialization that they're focusing on. Now, to support their research, we engage them in team science through an innovation curriculum, and each of our funded teams has a coach that works with them to help facilitate their research progress. So I talked a bit about the 2020 cohort, but we're always forward thinking. So right now we have 2 opportunities open. We have preliminary proposals, those are the 2-pagers that are due May 11th, and that's for NSF 20-565, so that's one opportunity. Another opportunity is we're looking forward to the 2021 cohort. So we did a request for information, or an RFI, where we asked people to submit either over SurveyMonkey or submit a conference or workshop proposal that would help wash out what should we be looking at for topics for next year, for the next cohort. We're expecting to fund these workshops that will happen this summer, either in live or virtually. But we would like for these workshops to inform us what should be our future topic areas that could really make a national impact. So for their Dear Colleague letter, the request for information, you can find that at NSF 20-061. Like I said, we have a SurveyMonkey link where somebody could just go in and submit an idea on this SurveyMonkey. We'll collect that data, or people could submit workshop proposals. Just ask to make sure that the workshop proposal is really reflective of the convergence nature that we're looking to support. So we're inviting participation from the community. Our website link is there, and I can also put that in the chat window. So our website has past webinars that we've hosted. It has information about the teams. It has the SurveyMonkey link. If you want to sign up to be a reviewer, we are looking for reviewers for proposals and also for the pitch competition. Please sign up, reach out to us. And we're also on that page is links for the next rounds for the 2020 cohort, and also we invite people to submit workshop proposals. So the NSF Convergence Accelerator, we're a new program in NSF, almost like a startup within the foundation. We're focused on convergence research to address national challenges. We seek to support an accelerated pace with hands-on program management, which is not traditional for NSF programs. So we do have the requirement, given our convergence nature, that our teams, our project teams, include non-academic partners, not add-ons, but really a part of the project team. Projects can be led by non-academic entities. So we're really looking for a new way of getting academia and industry together. And our focus really is what will be the deliverables at the end of the project that really will benefit the American people, and how will these deliverables impact a solution that perhaps the project is seeking to attain. And we're also thinking about long-term sustainability. Our email is c-excel@nsf.gov. You can send questions there. Again, I put the link to the program in the chat window, so please reach out to us, and I hope you'll come and get involved.
Jill and Irene for great presentations. I'm sure our registrants will take solace in everything that you've said, and I'm confident they'll reach out to you over the next few days, weeks, and months, and certainly during this time of COVID-19. We actually have a deal of time for some questions, and I know, Talitha, you'll be having to leave in a few minutes, but if you can spend a few minutes, that'd be great. We had a few in the chat box here, and I know Irene alluded to this in one of her answers, that NIH is allowing some late applications for the time window between March 9th and May 1st. Has NSF provided any information as to them changing any of their deadlines for submitted applications?
Yes, so there are a number of proposals that have revised their deadlines. What I did in the chat window was I put a link to the NSF updates on the coronavirus, which gives information for deadlines, also for flexibility on spending, guidance for RUs, because the research experience for undergraduates are coming up this summer, and a lot of them are going to a virtual format, so there's guidance for RUs. And we update this frequently, so I just encourage everybody to access that link and really browse through it and share it with your sponsor research office. In particular, the guidance for awardees, the FAQs for NSF proposals and awardees. That's very useful.
Great, thank you. We had a number of questions from the registrants during the registration process, and since a few of you are involved specifically in the HSI STEM programs, one of them was, how will the CARES Act impact HSI STEM funding going forward?
Well, Actually, Talitha used to be the co-lead for HSI, but I'm currently serving that program. So while we have received funds and they are being distributed across all of the programs through the CARES Act. I will say that when those funds run dry, we are being asked to dip into our program funds, assuming that there is funding available based on what it remains from the last round of proposals for this current fiscal year, and to use those funds if the project is worthy. So both CARES Act funds as well as program funds.
Okay, great, thank you. As you probably are aware, the CSU not only receives funding for research, but also a lot of educational programs, K through 12, teacher development, undergraduate education, graduate students, faculty development, etc. Another question was, will there be additional funding opportunities for online teaching and learning projects? And certainly because of the COVID-19 crisis, do you foresee anything going forward? This also, of course, if Irene wants to chime in also, can you provide any pointers or ideas here?
I'll go first. So we have, for some time now, funded research that relates to online and virtual environments. What's changed, of course, is the pace at which this has accelerated. And so to answer your question, yes, we will continue to fund that research, and we are actually really interested in the projects that have come forward. That's probably the most I could say about that.
Okay, thank you. There's a number of other questions here. I'll drill down a little bit more here. Are there any funding opportunities for COVID-19 related to food safety and consumer nutrition health?
NIH doesn't have any funding opportunities for food safety. That sits more in the realm of the FDA. Nutrition, we do have an Office of Dietary Supplements, and then our Complementary Health Institute also kind of looks into dietary supplements, nutrition. So that's two places to search for opportunities.
Okay.
I would say if TI is interested in that topic, to go back through that search for awards and use those key terms and see if anything has been funded along those lines, perhaps with relation to broader impacts or dissemination, and then to go and see what programs might have funded them and to speak with the program officers there. Okay,
great. Kind of a similar question here. Are there opportunities in artificial intelligence in biology interdisciplinary research involving undergraduates and master's students?
Talitha, you want to talk about the big ideas?
So yeah, so AI, artificial intelligence, is something that we're thinking about. The Convergence Accelerator, we're not really focusing though on the undergraduate component, although undergraduates could work on the projects per se. So do you want to speak about that from the undergraduate and graduate student perspective?
Oh, are you asking me? Well, I would just go back to the 10, NSF has 10 big ideas that it is pursuing right now as part of our strategic plan. It's worth going and looking those up. AI is one of those emerging areas, and you will see if you speak with a program officer, if you attend a PI meeting, you'll see that increasingly we are looking to fund proposals that engage the big ideas, and AI, of course, is one of them. So the extent to which PIs come up with innovative projects, embracing AI or thinking creatively about how students can be engaged in undergraduate research, or how AI can be used in the classroom, those are all very compelling ideas. And then with regard to master's students, that would be within the domain of the Division of Graduate Education.
Okay, yeah, there was a question in the chat box here. Is there funding to assist grad students who are doing research, perhaps in addition to those singular, you know, proposals or grantees that have funding for grad students? What we are seeing now is certainly not being able to go into our laboratories. Grad students, and of course undergrads, but in particular grad students who may not be able to complete their master's projects, they are kind of now at a loss and are kind of in a standstill right now in not being able to do that. And so they're kind of in a twilight zone as to not being able to graduate. Do you foresee any assistance in them for that extra year for them via NSF funding, or is it kind of based on if the PI has funding to extend their stay at their institution?
PIs are certainly welcome to consider thinking about supplement awards for under these conditions. Rapid response grants might also be a way of thinking about offering support, again in consultation with the program officer. That is one of the things that we consider if we receive a proposal from a PI. With regard to rapid, is we do look and see whether or not it might be eligible for supplemental funds. So I would say both of those are worthwhile channels.
We have another one here. Do you accept international proposals on COVID-19 related research?
Talitha, you want to take that one?
So we invite participation from international PIs, but you want to follow the policy outlined in the what we call the PAPPG, which is a Proposal and Award Policies Procedures Guide. And what I'll do is I'll put it in the chat window. And in there, there's a chapter, I think it's 1E, where it talks about who can submit proposals. So I would look at who, under the PAPPG, look up at Chapter 1, Part E, who may submit proposals. And it does have a section there, subsection 6, on foreign organizations.
Okay, thank you. One thing we've been stressing in the CSU is the great potential we have here for interdisciplinary research that crosses both STEM and non-STEM fields. And so we have a question here, actually a few questions on how the federal agencies may highlight some opportunities in the areas of social, behavioral sciences, and humanities. Certainly there's a lot of linkages, especially now with this pandemic, on those non-STEM related concerns, stressors on students, psychological issues, mental concerns, what have you. What types of opportunities are there for our faculty in those other disciplines that might be available in both your agencies?
Irene, do you want to go first?
Sure. So we have the Office of Behavioral and Social Sciences that sits within Poughkeepsie, where our office sits, and they help try to develop funding opportunities across NIH, and they also create their own opportunities because they have some funding authority. It is a big area that always seems to be ignored a little bit, and we're really trying. Our office is also working with OVSSR to ensure that we get more funding opportunities out there for that type of research. When it comes to trainees and faculty, like for mental health and well-being during this time, in the PDF that I shared, I provided a lot of links from our Office of Intramural Training and Education. And so a lot of the webinars she's been conducting over these past few weeks, because for us this is the end of 6 weeks teleworking, and a lot of our fellows are kind of lost, not being able to go into the lab. A lot of them are away from home, so they're alone. And so I provided a lot of links to some of those sessions. You know, there's therapists talking about different ways to help alleviate feeling lonely, you know, overcoming the worriness and, you know, just the loss, because this is also a grieving time. You've kind of lost your ability and your independence to do things because you have to work from home. And hopefully a lot of those resources can help, and there's a lot of opportunities that are going to be happening in these next couple of weeks for live online viewing for some of these sessions. So those are kind of the two different avenues that's been going on at NIH.
Do you see any?
I put a link.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Just real quick. I put a link in the chat window for NSF's Director for Social Behavior and Economic Sciences in case anyone's interested. But I have to run to another meeting. So I just want to say bye and thank you for having me here.
Thank you, Talitha. It was a pleasure meeting you and having you on this webcast. Have a great day.
Likewise. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm glad that she posted that link because it is a very good resource. The Directorate for Social, Behavioral, and Economic Sciences also is comprised of a number of divisions, and that is where research, for example, cognitive research, psychological research, political science research, there's a law and society program. It's worth checking out. In addition, of course, in my division, in the Division of Undergraduate Education, we do consider some of the social sciences to be part of STEM, and so we do entertain proposals as well that have a focus on STEM education at the undergraduate level from the vantage point of those disciplines.
Great,
And
thank you.
I almost forgot to say that we highly value collaborative projects and projects that offer innovative partnerships. And so the advice that I would give prospective PIs in working on a collaborative proposal would be, and this is just very tactical in scope, but have someone on your team be in charge of doing all of the letter gathering for your project, because letters of collaboration are very important in the review process, and they are considered, and they can derail a proposal if they're not there. So follow the guidance in the PAPG and the specific guidance in the solicitation, and talk to your program officer if you're in doubt.
Great, thank you. Here's one more here with respect to funding opportunities for computer sciences research. You have any pointers for that?
In the SISE Directorate, the CISE Directorate, there's a number of programs there. We also, in DUE, the Division of Undergraduate Education, also funds research in computer science. And so, yes, and actually we are looking for program officers to serve in that capacity as well.
Okay, great, thank you. Well, I think
At NIH, we're more interested in bioinformatics, big data, modeling. So the National Institute of Biomedical Imaging and Bioengineering has opportunities, but there are several other institutes and centers that have bioinformatics opportunities, like the Cancer Institute, Allergies, Infectious Disease, Heart, Lung, and Blood, the Human Genome Research Institute, the Institute on Aging, and dental and cranial research. So you can just do a search on the NIH webpage for bioinformatics, and a lot of things will pop up for you.
There was actually a question here. Somebody wanted pointers for bioinformaticians, so you kind of answered the next question. Okay. So,
computer science is kind of broad, but if you relate it a bit more to biomedical research, then I can give you more answers.
Okay, great, thank you.
Big data is one of NSF's top 10 big ideas as well, so it's worth reading about those and looking at to see what has been funded already, building upon those projects.
Okay, great. Well, I think for today, we're going to, certainly I appreciate both of you and Talitha for speaking to our over 150 registrants who came on and gave of their time, but certainly for the three of you for giving your time today, for giving a lot of information to our faculty, offices of sponsored research programs, what have you, and I'm confident they'll be reaching out to you going forward. On the next slide, we have information on the speaker contacts. So I encourage faculty and other personnel within the CSU to contact you if you have questions on proposals, ideas, or questions going forward. And a link to the webcast will soon be made available on the STEMnet website. Before we go, I have just a few announcements. We'll be emailing a survey to you shortly. Please take a moment to respond, as your feedback is very important to us. I hope you consider joining us at 10 a.m. on Wednesday, June 10th for our next webcast on assessing student learning outcomes in undergraduate STEM courses. You can contact either Monica Alacon or myself in the STEMnet office. A huge shout out to both Monica and Jennifer Wicks, our executive producer, who does an outstanding job every time we do our webcasts. She is definitely first rate in that. And finally, these are difficult times which will likely never pass our way again. We'll all have stories to tell to be able to be passed on for generations of what it was like to live through COVID-19. But remember, one more day that passes us by is one less day before we reach a better tomorrow. Let us continue to share our ideas on what teaching, learning, and research will be when we finally reach that tomorrow by preparing today. Please follow the guidelines our government and health officials have given to us. To everyone, stay safe, stay home, and have a great rest of your day. Goodbye.
Bye, everyone.